regardless of which candidate they're voting for.
Well, they want people that are going to represent the people, not necessarily the party.
No, they want people that are not part of the establishment. There's a difference. Okay, not being a part of the establishment means you're not going to be following the establishment's rules. Unfortunately, in this case, as we are now, he's actually not only following the establishment's rules, he's actually making up new ones that the establishment's falling into and falling behind or gathering behind and supporting.
And businesses like I don't even want to drop names, but I mean, he's kind of having a lot of influence on some really large businesses in the Valley, which is kind of scary.
No, he's not.
The whole Intel thing, really?
Intel has been working on Fab 22 for long before Trump even announced being presidential candidate. Yeah. Fab 42 was was being built 2.5 years ago, and was put on hold because of declining PC sales, not having anything to do with the presidential election.
Just the fact that it kind of hijacked that.
They did that on purpose. They announced it and did that all on purpose as a big show of blah, blah, blah. It doesn't change the fact that last year they laid off 800 people in Arizona, forced retirement. And now all of a sudden they're going to hire another 3,000? Yeah, that doesn't look very good.
So, that company in Tempe that just, dumped 800 people. Oh, I was reading about it. Yeah.
In Tempe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
They dumped 800 people?
It was on LinkedIn. I'd have to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's not having as much of an impact as everybody wants to think he is. Okay. The Intel thing had nothing to do with Trump. They were talking about revamping and revitalizing that project before the election.
Well, that is true, yeah.
Because, we've already been working on all of the 1274 parts for the new, was it 700 millimeter or whatever it is?
Something.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things is that since we actually work with people that are the company that we work for is actual vendors to Intel, we actually kind of know what's going on with Intel as opposed to what the news is saying.
Okay.
Yeah, Fab 42, the building is built. And it's been on hold for 2 years because PC sales shot down because people were starting to buy tablets and smartphones as opposed to computers. Now things are kind of turning around a little bit, and Intel's like, oh, well, we're going to get into this. We're going to start spending a whole bunch of money. Well, yeah, but it's on a project that you've been working on for 4 or 5 years. It has nothing to do with the new president, so let's not go there. But... the new what is the new automotive place in Casa Grande? They're going to be building a new factory down there that's going to have a lot of people.
Not Tesla.
Not Tesla. No, we scared Tesla off.
Yeah, no shit.
Thanks,
yeah, way to go. And Apple.
No, Apple's opening up a facility here.
Oh, that's right. They are coming. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they are. They're taking over the GTA facility that they spent a whole bunch of money on and then fired a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I read about Apple moving. It's a big operation here.
Yeah, what happened with that one is Apple came in, Apple hired a company called GTA to build their new glass for their iPhone or something like that, and they failed big time. They hired 1,400 people, and they had to lay almost all of them off the year later when they filed bankruptcy. Apple's coming in and buying the actual facility and is going to turn it into a data center, like a cloud, I think. So it's going to have a lot of people working there and everything. But, that has nothing to do with Donald Trump either, because that was done. That whole deal was done, but long before the presidential election.
And Zenefits is the name of the company. I was thinking of laid off 250 in San Francisco and another 150 in Tempe.
Yeah, that was the one that Braden's working for.
That's apparently
they've gone billion.
Not a very legitimate company from some of the shit I've read.
So, kind of wish brings you back to the idea that we wish we could bring our manufacturing jobs back to the United States and our call center jobs back to the United States.
Oh, totally. But, if we're not an educated country, I can all of a sudden see why...
It has nothing to do with education. It has to do with the fact that in India, you can pay $1 an hour, whereas in the United States, you have to pay minimum wage. So
there are regulations,
Well, that's the why we've offshored so many call center jobs and manufacturing jobs, because it's just the bottom dollar is better for them. outside the country. And then they move their main offices outside of the country. They get all their profits from the United States and then claim that they're not in the United States, so they don't have to pay taxes. That makes America great again. Which, speaking of, is Donald Trump going to bring all of his corporations and stuff back to the United States, or is he going to still leave them out in Bangladesh?
I want to see all his taxes, motherfucker.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to happen.
I want to see his birth certificate. Let's just see it all. Let's see all the documentation, all the papers. I mean, seriously? This is what we've become as a country.
Yeah, pretty much.
We used to be the greatest country in the world. Now we're fucked.
I think that's a relative term, actually. I mean, just because we say we're the greatest country in the world doesn't actually mean that it's true.
I think it used to have a lot more merit than it does
What
now, though.
What was the new meme? What are we, 24th in education? 17th in education and 24th in... Oh, what was that meme? I saw it on... Of course, it may not be accurate. I don't know.
Was it the one I sent you guys?
Was that the one with Betsy DeVos says, "Hold my Bible"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. That pretty much covers it. But that's the country we are in now. I mean, we're basically being run by the oligarchy, and until people actually get their heads out of their ass and start actually thinking for themselves, we're never going to change this shit.
Bad. I was like in an all-day on and off debate because I posted that like a call to action to have people sign up to request to speak against because those two voucher expansion bills passed through the Senate Education Committee today. So now those identical bills are coming through the House next week. And
so they're fast tracking it.
Because they're trying. Yeah, so they're fast tracking it. So I put this out there, and then one of my non-Arizona friends is like, "Oh, school choice, blah 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 blah," and we're going back and forth for a while, and then she's like, then I'm telling her how they're trying to fast track it, and they don't want the public input. They don't want to be, they don't care what we want. They want to make this happen. And she was like, well, I don't trust the public to make decisions on education anyway. And I was like, so let me get this straight. You don't trust the public to make decisions on education, but you want the public to make decisions for their kids' education. I'm not sure what you're trying to. And then she was like, well, it got so stupid. But it's really like that. It's like people get used to, being for something or against something to a point where they maybe don't even know whether or not they should be anymore. I think that's where she was at.
Well, I mean, I know that the two bills they were looking at, one was a House bill, one was a Senate bill. I think it was 1431 and 23 something. Both of which we voted no for in the request to speak. And that they had almost 400 people in request to speak saying no, and like 90 people saying yes. And they refused to actually allow the no's to talk while they let the yeses have the floor.
I watched that entire hearing while I was working yesterday, and I was like, what in the world is happening right now? Because I've seen like crazy banana shit stuff, but not like that was just, I couldn't believe that, well, that one lady that was speaking, I guess she was sponsoring, she got like 45 minutes, and then they immediately start having all the yes people come. They bust in all those kids. They took them out of whatever private schools they were going to, bust them in, gave them all those stickers, and had them tell these stories about how great the ESA program was, and that went on for a while. And then it cracked me up that Chairwoman Allen's like, oh yeah, you can clap for the kids, but don't clap for anyone else. Only when I say so. You can hear like this little booing, like really. And it was crazy because and then of course this happened on the last week when they passed Senate Bill 1281. They cut it. They always do this with these bills. They cut it, instead of getting 2 minutes you're supposed to have, they cut it down to 1 on this one. So like I'm like starting to think, guys, by now that if it's going to be this controversial and you really mean it when you say you want to give everyone a fair chance to speak, you would just give these bills their own day at the hearing, at your committee. But like they know they want to cram it all in, and then like you said, it was just like yes people, and then recess, and then they came back, yes people. There were, I think in total it was like 98 yes people, which really were a bunch of the same people from the same schools that these and the Goldwater Institute guy that's always there, that representative.
Oh right, yeah, I saw his name in
there. Yeah. And then you had like nearly 400 people for against, and they're like, oh, well, who's there? Anybody here? It's like they act like it's more. The numbers aren't so heavily stacked in the against, and then I love people were pretty brave. Like they were calling out. You know how Senator Smith, he's been pretty rude. I guess that's just how he is.
Right. Yeah.
When he's talking to someone that doesn't agree with him, he's very condescending and does that like fake laugh where he's like, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well. And I'm like, God, you are so rude. And then Senator Yee, she like never looked up. And then one guy called and it was like, ever since the yes people have been getting up here, said, I know you guys have your minds made up and you don't want to change them. You're not really, what we're going to say isn't going to change your minds, but you could at least like look at us. Like Senator,
acknowledge us.
You haven't looked up once. Yeah, he's like, you haven't looked up once, and even now while I'm saying your name, you're not looking at me. And she like peeks up from behind her computer just long enough to tell him, well, it's called multitasking. And I'm just like, what? Are you serious? Like, oh my God! Like, what is going on in this room?
And that could be another part of the problem is that these legislators that are down at the Capitol have such a level of self-importance that they don't care about listening to anybody else talk.
No, they don't.
They don't want to listen to their constituents.
Okay, they'll say you have 1 minute to speak, and then they'll get like a rebuttal for like as long as they want. And then the person will be like, well, can I say something to that? No, we got to give someone else a chance. Sit down. It's like, well, that's not really fair. You're saying you want to be fair, but you're not hearing everyone out.
Yeah, and it's like that for any committee that you try to go speak at for any kind of controversial bills. They've been trying to expand this ESA thing for years, and so far it's been blocked. It was blocked. I remember this same thing came up last year where they tried to do this and ended up losing. But now that the government, national government, is all about school choice and screw public education, that they may get it this time, and then taxpayer monies are going to be paying for religious education, and it's just frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Boy, it just got quiet.
It really did, yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, it sucks that we and people.
I had to yell at my daughter. Not yell at her, just she's not listening to Tim. It's like past her bedtime. But like we went to that party, which is why I called in so late, and she had a lot of sugar. She missed her bedtime to go to the party.
Whoops.
So it's not a good night for her right now. So sorry, but that's what happened. That's
no worries.
Well, just remember, March 3rd, we now have all the microphones and headphones and everything so that we can sit out under the stars and have this show